Hey there, Tesla fans. Aaron Rath here with RatsTesla, and today we've got one of those installations that I've been talking about and mentioning for a while. We are going to get a power frunk installed today from our friends over at Hansshow. They sent us this version 5 power frunk for the 2021 Tesla Model Y. I do have a discount code below so that you can save a big chunk of money. I know there's some bad publicity, or there's been some bad things said about the power frunk. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get on with this install video and go from there. So thanks for watching. RatsTesla. Alright, so the first step in getting the power frunk installed is obviously removing all of this stuff in the frunk. So the first thing we have to do is pop off this panel. And I know it sounds scary, but don't be afraid to just yank on it. It's just got clips in there, and you can reach right in there and pop those clips up. And you'll see as I flip it over, that all the white clips that are on there, these little clips, are what is holding the frunk down in these spots here. Now, I have the added pleasure of dealing with the HEPA filter as well, so we are going to work around that. But as we go through, we have some bolts that we need to remove now. There's 2 across the front, one there, and then there is a clip on the side that we have to remove, and then there's a couple bolts in the bottom that we have to take out. So let's get to that. Before we get popping those bolts off, we do have to pop this front panel off right here. So I've got a little pry tool that I'm going to use to just kind of pop underneath there and pop this off. Again, don't be afraid, you're not going to break anything. So you pop those top 2 out, and then you kind of just pop the bottom one out, and then on the back side there's this little plug. We're just going to pop on the sides there and pop that plug out, and I will set this panel to the side. Alright, so we're going to remove these 4 bolts across the front. There's 2 here, and then there's 2 on the inside, so we're going to quick remove those. I'll probably speed this up because this could take a while. And I'm just going to pull these out and throw them in the bottom of the pan, because we're going to take this whole thing out and set it aside. And it doesn't matter if, as we pull these out, you'll see that they are all the same bolt. So you can see right there, they're all the same. So which one you put in where doesn't really matter. So once you have those 4 out, then this pan should just pull out. Now the one thing you do have to look at, and it's not in the instructions, is right here there is a little pin that you have to push through. So the easiest way to deal with that is on the edge there's a little lip. You just pop that out. See how that popped out? And once that pops out, then you can just pull this whole thing and pop it out. I'm going to set you down real quick because I don't want to lose this piece. Oh, never mind, I got it. So we'll put that down in the bottom with the rest of our items, and then this just pops right out. Here's what the inside of a dirty frunk looks like. Here's our cable that went through for the light, but this is the inside of the frunk. Here's the HEPA filter. Now where we're going to be going next is down inside here. We've got to remove the old struts and put new struts in. So that's the next step. Okay, so I've placed my light, and I'll see if I can get my hand down in there. But basically, all the way at the bottom down here, there's a little, right down where my finger is, there's a little ring you got to pop off, and that will allow this strut to pop off the bottom. So I'm going to set you down because I don't really have a way of doing the camera, but I will show you that little ring and how it pops off once I get it off. So the other thing I ended up taking out was the HEPA filter housing, because you have to get back into there and get this strut out, and then you have to do the same thing on this side. And with that HEPA filter in there, it's not easy to do. Plus, at some point, you're going to have to get to your 12-volt battery to be able to plug into the positive and negative. So I needed to take that off, and now I'm going to work on those struts. All right, so after a little bit of fighting, I finally got these off. So what you have to do, so this is the bottom side, okay, and this little clip is on there. On the back side, if you take a screwdriver, I'll see if I can get this, right there in that gap, you take the screwdriver, you can get underneath it and pop it out. You have to be careful, this will fly. And then on the top, you have to do the same thing. And on the top, I can show you. You take this, and you see how I get underneath there and it releases. Well, when it releases, then inside here, that releases the pressure, and you can pop both of these off. So I got the passenger side off, now I gotta get the driver's side off. Okay, so the next thing you have to do on both sides is take a wrench, and this little piece that was being used to hold the strut on, you're going to take those out of both sides. It's a 13 millimeter wrench, and it's not easy to do with a camera and working the wrench. So see if we can get this other end on there. Put it backwards. So I have a nice set of wrenches that does the ratcheting on the one end, so I can get that on there. And then it's one of those that you just got to get broken loose, and then once you get broken loose, you can unscrew it with your finger. Be careful, because there's some washers on the back side of it. You don't want to drop those washers. Almost done. It's a long threaded. All right, so that's what it looks like when it's removed. Again, careful, there's a washer on the back side. Now we're going to get the one on the driver's side. All right, the next step, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but down here there's a new bracket that we put on. It's right here by my fingers. The screw goes above it, and then the new attachment point below, and then this just kind of mounts in to give it more pressure. This is a 5 millimeter hex bolt, so you're just gonna stick it in there and screw it in tight, and then be ready to go with the next step. All right, so the next thing it's asking us to do is, you can see back there I have the wrench on it. There's a bolt on both sides of that bracket. We have to take that off and put on a different screw and washer. I think it's just to reduce the size of it sticking out so it doesn't rub on the new strut that we're going to put in here in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and get those removed and replaced on both sides. So you're going to remove it with a 13 millimeter bolt, and then you're going to replace it with this, which is a 5 millimeter hex, the same size that we just used on the other bolts. Alright, so now it's time to install the new powered struts. Key thing here is that the wired end goes up, the non-wired end goes down. Now these have similar type brackets on, or clips on there. You can see the little clip on the back side if I can get it to focus. So you can see that clip there, but putting it on, it doesn't matter. You just press it into place. And it says to put the bottom side in first. Bottom part just twists so that they face opposite direction, because the bottom should go on facing that way and the top should go on facing this way. So you got to kind of take it down through here. And again, you're going to want to watch the wires, because the wires have to come up through the top. And you find that little nut that we put on the bottom, and just get it in place and just push it on, and that's it. Locks into place just like that, and it won't come off. Then on the top you're gonna have to finagle it a little bit and get this top piece to line up and pop into place. I think I'm going to have to put the camera down because I have to lift the hood just a little bit to be able to get that in, because when I took these out, I put a pole in, and my pole is just a little bit shorter than it needs to be open all the way for. Alright, so you can see the wires are out, the top is on, and if we look inside, I don't think we can really see back in there, but the bottom is on as well. And you'll notice that my support pole is no longer needed. So now, let's see if we can do the driver's side with the camera. Again, wire to the top, lone side to the bottom, and we're gonna go in down here, see if we can do this. I don't think you can see, and I can't really see either. I'm doing it by feeling. Once you get it in place, yeah, I'm gonna have to put the camera down. Alright, so I finally got those struts in. That's probably the hardest thing I've had to do so far to this point. Sorry, lighting is bad. I don't think you can see, but right here you can see the new strut connected up top, and the wires are right here, and then on the other side connected, and there's the wires. Alright, so the next thing it tells you to do is to mark the edges of the original lock. So I have this bolt and this bolt over here, right there, and you can kind of see how I marked the edges of it using a blue. Now it already had the markings there, that blue marking. I did around the edge, so now we have to take this off and go from there. Alright, so now the instructions say to remove these two 10mm bolts holding on this mechanism. So we'll get both of these taken out. Yeah, and those are bloody knuckles from trying to reach up underneath there. If you have bigger hands or bigger arms, you might want to find somebody that can help you that has smaller hands. So you can see as soon as I loosened that second bolt that mechanism kind of slid down, and that's why you want the bolts marked, because you want to be able to line everything back up when you put the next mechanism in there, and that way when you close it, it closes right. So then it says to move this out of the way, which we've done. Alright, for this next step it says to pull this spring in this direction and then kind of let it loose. So you can see it really, I mean, it's hard to do with one hand to get it back in, but it's got that little lip right there, and as soon as you open it up, it'll undo it, and then you can just set it aside. Once you have that loose, you're going to take this spring out. It was sitting right here. You're going to take that out and set it aside because we don't need it now. Now here's where the instructions got a little confusing, but I've been able to figure it out. I'm going to set my camera up a different way and show you. Alright, so now what you got to do is you got to put these two pieces together, and this has this little plastic piece around it. We're just going to take this plastic piece and slip it on there, and then this kind of just all hangs out together for now. But these two pieces will eventually get screwed together on the next one. And actually this is going to continue to fall off until we get... Okay, I'm gonna take you off here because I want you to see how this goes on here, because the instructions weren't clear to me and I didn't get it right the first time. So this is the new wire. This goes underneath here. I'm sorry. So this is the new wire. It goes underneath here. See how it's clipped on this? Then the spring goes on this side. It goes over this and then tucked back in there, and then it should work. So, and then we'll put these screws in with the plastic screw in the back, and that's more like a spacer, that black nut in the back. So then we'll see what we get here. So. Alright, so now we have to undo the positive from the battery. So we're going to undo the positive from the battery and pop that off. Once that's undone and popped off, we'll move to the next step. Okay. Next thing is to unplug this wire right here. There's a little black little clip. So you just have to lift that clip and then slide it out and unplug that. And that unplugs this motor to this piece right here. Alright, one of the steps that I missed in here was putting this bracket back on with that spanner on the back side so that it can open and close. There's two bolts and a couple washers. Those go on the outside. Then the plastic thicker washer goes on the inside. And then you just kind of finger tighten these down for now. That step should have been done back when I put these two together, but I just missed that in the instructions. Instructions are kind of iffy as to what you have to do. So, all right, so we're going to get back to where we're supposed to be, and that should be starting to plug things in. We've got the battery disconnected, and now we've got to start hooking up a lot of these wires. The original disconnector is unplugged, so let's go from there. Alright, so now it's time to start plugging things in, and as we go through the bracket we look at the plugs and we kind of separate out what goes where. These two plugs are for the left and right struts, they match, and then we have to plug in this plug on the bottom. So you can see this matches what we have, so we're going to plug this one into the bottom, into this motor, and then we'll plug in the old plug that went into it to the splitter there. So you can see we have these two split right there. Then on here, on this bracket on the car, we're going to plug in that wire adapter. So it's the one that looks like purple. It says VWAC on it. So the one side plugs in here, and it can only go in one way. So you're going to push it in until you hear it click, and then lock it with the red, and then this part goes in here. And you'll push it till you hear it click, and then push the gray plunger in to kind of lock it. So now we've got this bundle of wires left. These are plugged in, and we've got to get these figured out where they go. So now it says connect the red wire to the positive pole of the battery, and the black wire is connected to the ground wire, which is on the side over here. So this one is the black one, and this one is the red one. Easy to figure out. The red one has the fuse on it. The black one does not. So we're going to go ahead and connect those real quick, and then get back to this. So now, like I said, the red wire goes to the positive pole of the battery, and the black wire is connected to the ground. So we're going to slide the red one on over here on our battery. You probably can't see it, but it's to the top pole on the battery. Make sure it's to the red side, and then there's a ground wire on the side that it calls out to connect this ground to. So we'll connect the ground right here. Unscrew this just a little bit. So that ground wire is right down here, and then we take the ground wire from the plug and just kind of slide it on here, and then tighten her back up. All right. Now it says connect the control box plug with the plug facing down on the inside of the front crossbeam. So that is in this big plug here. So we're going to plug these together. And it looks like it can only go on one direction. There's 3 little lines here, or marks here, and fatter ones here, and they line up on the plug like that. The first thing you got to do though is pull that purple piece out. Helps if you have it on there the right direction like I was talking about. Once you get it, then you just push that purple thing in and you'll hear it beep. And it says to just kind of stick it off here on the bottom here, with the plug facing down on the inside of the front crossbeam. So we're just going to kind of stick it right here. You got to be careful. Unwind those wires and just kind of stick it right there for now. We'll get it stuck in place here with some zip ties in just a little bit. It says to make sure all the plugs are plugged in, which they're not. We have a ton of plugs left here, so we're going to go through and figure out where these all get plugged in at. So these have to plug in. So plug these in. It doesn't look like these have a direction, a certain side they have to go on. So be careful, I can see that. It wants to go, so I'm going to take my camera thumbs out there. We'll plug this side in on this. See if it's shutting in. But all you need to notice is when it closes, I was able to stop it. So that's a good thing. So plug this side in. And this little plug. Okay. Now I just have a couple plugs left. We'll find the ones that were unplugged. This one should go here. Plug in. And find where the plug is. That was unplugged from that. It's not too far. That's not it. And this plugs are to this box. And it can only go one way. Okay. We should go back to the other side here. That was the bad thing. Then we're going to plug this in with the plug off of the new plug. The light lights up. That's a good sign. All right, troubleshooting and lesson learned. When you put this back together, this piece needs to be way up with this underneath it, wrapped around and tucked inside with this underneath it. What was happening, I think, and we're about to test it, is the car thought that the thing was already closed because this wouldn't come all the way to the open position. So it was stuck down too low, and this new piece here was keeping it from open. So now let's run a test. The latch is in the open position. The car believes the trunk is open, or the frunk. And we have closing. Now let's see if we lock. Okay, well, that's a start. I don't think we're getting down far enough, so we've got to fix that. So now we're going to go ahead and pull it back open. So it opens up. Now we've just got to get this latch aligned, and I think we've got to come up a lot. It just didn't get down far enough to grab it. And watch, as we push it up, we're like an inch off on each side. So we're going to bring it as far up as we can, and then if we have to adjust down, we will from there. So let's try this again. All right, so that's good. Now we can see that the frunk is way out of alignment. We're like way low on this side and way high on this side. So we've got to figure out the alignment and get that fixed. All right, so after what seems like hours of adjusting, I think I got it adjusted. It closes, it pulls it down. It's a little bit off, but I think once I get everything else added in, I can make some slight modifications to the plugs and get that all working. But for right now, it's looking good. So really the only thing now left to do is to clean up the cabling, put all my cables up and neat, and clean it all up. So I'm going to do that. It's going to take me about 20 minutes to do it, but to you it's going to look like it happened almost instantly. All right, so I got all the cables kind of wrapped up. Now it's time to put things back in reverse order. And it did, but it's not pulling it down very far enough. So, all right, I made one minor adjustment to the little pull cord that's in there. I tightened it up, and now it pulls it nice and tight. So here's the test, and of course on camera we'll see if it actually does it. Nice and flush here, flush on the sides. Whew, got it. So that's going to do it for our installation video of this Hansshow Power Frunk, the version 5. I will tell you, this was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Not the installation. I mean, getting the struts into place, that was a little hard. And I cut my hands up digging back in there, getting the old struts off, putting the new struts on. That I thought was going to be the hardest point. The wiring, not so bad. Once you look at it, you kind of see where everything plugs in. The problem that I had was with the alignment. Mine, for some reason my hood was all of a sudden out of alignment. So I had to fix that. And then as you saw at the end, it didn't quite close all the way. So I had some issues there that I had to deal with. But overall, I would say that if I had to give this a rating out of 5 to install, I would say this is probably a 4 out of 5. If you're not that mechanically inclined, I would find someone to install it for you. If you go on the Hansshow website, they've got installers listed in areas. So look for installers in your area and see what they'll charge you to install. I think it's a cool product. It's really cool to be able to pop the frunk and open it. I haven't used the frunk a lot because I didn't want to put the pressure on that aluminum hood. But now I imagine I'm going to use the frunk a lot more because all I got to do is hit a button to open it and a button to close it. So that's really cool. But like I said, overall, probably a 4 out of 5 on the install scale. If you're mechanically inclined and you understand the way things work mechanically and electronically, this isn't going to be that bad. But if those things are things that you struggle with a little bit, I would get someone else to do it. But that's not all the installs we have. We've got another product coming from Hansshow, probably in the next week or so, that we're going to get installed. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell so you know when I get new videos up. And hit the like. Drop a comment. If you saw something that I was doing that was wrong, that made this look harder than it should have been, throw it in a comment so someone else can learn from it. Some of the stuff I didn't put in the video that you just watched of the installation, but some of the mistakes that I made, I left in there so that you can learn from them and not do the same thing that I did. But that'll do it for today's video. Thanks for watching. If you're still with us, thank you so much for watching that whole video. It's a lot of fun working on this Tesla. I love it. We got a lot of great videos coming up. But as always, get out, go drive, be safe, and have fun in your Tesla, and be kind to someone today. Let's just make it a Be Kind month. This video will probably go up in early March. Let's have fun. Let's be kind to each other. That'll do it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in.